After well over 60 hours across all 6 titles and 100% completing the game with all achievements, ZZ cards, and bonus cards obtained, in celebration of both Mega Man Zero and ZX characters being added to the mobile game Rockman X DiVE, it is time to double hero down on my final verdict for the Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection. A full year after it was announced, can you believe that? Before we dash jump right along into things, I do want to draw your attention to the previous preview videos we have already done on the ShadowRockZX channel, which I largely still stand by the points I made in them. Check them out if you need more detailed information. The purpose of this video will be to zero in on my complete thoughts with a few additional discoveries from my play session. I also wish to thank Capcom for providing a digital copy of the Nintendo Switch version for review. I have played the PC version as well, so I'll be giving impressions of that port too. Let's begin with what you are getting for your hard-earned $30 US, or maybe as low as $20 US if you find a good sale these days. Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection comes bundled in with all 4 Mega Man Zero and both Mega Man ZX titles inside of one cartridge or disc. You won't have to worry about the games being split up this time around, which is a great thing. In addition, the collection offers the slew of bonus content that you have come to expect by this point, such as the art gallery, music player, achievements in the form of ZZ cards for unlocking the bonus cards for Mega Man Zero 3, and the main attraction, Z Chaser mode. More on that later. Now, I'm not going to Z-knuckle around the bush here. I absolutely love the Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection, and I do believe it is the best of the Legacy collections released by Capcom to date. It does have its own share of hiccups that I will get into, but on the whole, it is well worth the price tag for what you get, especially if you find it on sale. One of the key things that sets this Legacy collection apart from the others is, unlike the other collections that emulate the games, Zero and ZX Legacy Collection is a source port. You can verify this yourself by looking through your files if you own the PC version. Virtually every file you could want is readily accessible, from the cutscene movies, to music, to voice clips, to background assets, and more, which paves the way for the great community-driven mod support for the PC version. There are a ton of incredible mods out there already, like swapping the in-game music for Inti Create's remastered soundtracks, translating the Japanese version of ZX Advent so you can play the game in English with Japanese voiceovers, and heck, we already have a team working on a fan-made voice dub for ZX1. Be sure to take a look at our videos on the subject in the description for more information. I already believe that you cannot go wrong with picking up the Zero and ZX Legacy Collection to experience these titles, but the PC version really is where it's at if you want the ultimate form of the Zero and ZX series, just for the mod support alone. Be aware, however, that you will need a fairly decent PC rig to play. You're not going to be playing this smoothly with an old hand-me-down laptop, that's for sure. Check the system requirements on the Steam page and make sure your computer is up to spec before buying. Well, you know my feelings now, so let's go into more detail about the why, and touch on those nitpicks too. The rest of my impressions from here will strictly adhere to the base version of the collection. The Mega Man Zero series is set 100 years after the events of the X series, and kicks off with the human scientist Ciel awakening the legendary Red Reploid himself, Zero, to help her resistance in the fight against the new dystopian society for humans, Neo Arcadia, whose guardians are slaying innocent Reploids left and right at the orders of a familiar face. Oh yeah, if you thought the X series was dark, boy does the Zero series crank it up to 11. Despite that, however, the Zero series does have perhaps the most deep and well-written story in franchise history. It's an absolute roller coaster from story beat to beat, and I would not dare spoil the plot for anyone who hasn't played yet. I'll leave you to experience it for yourself because it's that good. Speaking of the quality of the individual games, I should first say that there is no bad game in this collection. They are all solid across the board. Zero 1 is clearly the one that has aged the worst, suffering from that good old first entry syndrome. Zero 2 gets better, Zero 3 is arguably the best game in the series and of this collection, and 04 serves as a great conclusion. Now, this is the part where I have to be honest. Some of you that have been sticking with me for a while now may know that the Zero series ranks as my personal least favorite Mega Man series. But that does not mean I don't think it's an incredible series on its own merits. Like I said, the story is amazing and well worth playing for that alone. The gameplay is tight and responsive, and the music, it's so godlike. Watching a Zero speedrun is a beautiful sight to behold. Zero has a selection of new sub-weapons to play around with, fun bosses, and combo systems to master. There's a ton of reasons why people really love the Zero series, and I do see it. It is a blast to play, once you get good at it. And that brings me to why I don't go back to the Zero series as often as, say, the Classic and X series. Mega Man has always had a reputation of not being that easy, but the Zero series truly is incredibly difficult even compared to those series. This is not a game you can casually play to chill or relax. You need to give it your all, especially to reap the best rewards. Remember the good old days when Zero could obtain that cool new special technique just by defeating the boss? The Zero series does have that in the form of EX skills, sort of, but only if you manage to keep an average A rank across the missions, which you are graded on at the end of each. Which for new players, that's easier said than done. As much as I like that it rewards skilled players, it also leaves the casual player unable to play with those flashy new abilities without reloading a save a few times to replay the stage, memorize it, rinse and repeat until you get an A rank. And that, to me, kills part of what I love the most about Mega Man: experimenting with different powers. Oh, and how about upgrades? How does Zero gain more health and get stronger? That's where Cyber Elves come in. Feed them some E-crystals and they can buff your stats and abilities in various ways. Here's the catch though. Using Cyber Elves reduces your mission score, which you need those scores to unlock those EX skills. Now, 0, 3, and 4 does do their own things to address the Cyber Elf issue, but it's still going to be a lame ordeal in 02 as you're actively not using Cyber Elves just to save your score. Unless you really don't care about the EX skills, that's fair too. I know, just for saying all this, I'm gonna get a lot of comments like, "Oh, get good, son. You just don't like this because you're not good at it." And personally, I don't think get good is a good solution to this issue. I truly do believe there is an underlying problem here when the game is punishing me for using the tools available to me, let alone trying to play this like, oh, I don't know, a Mega Man game? And don't get me started on the Game Boy Advance screen crunch that plagues every game in the series. But it rears its ugly head the most in 01 when you have enemies coming at you from off screen, requiring excellent reaction time or prior knowledge of enemy placements to dodge. At least by 03, Integrates had a better handle on the system limitations to keep enemy placement more fair overall. Luckily, Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection has a couple of ways to help alleviate some of those grievances I just mentioned. There is Casual Scenario Mode that starts you with most of the power-ups and makes things much easier. This mode is also how you access 04 and both ZX games' easy modes, with separate save files, and you cannot earn certain achievements this way. It's effectively locked off from the main game. So that's not the mode we're interested in playing. But it's not a bad option at all for anyone who is new to the series and doesn't care about the difficulty. My single favorite new feature in this collection is Save Assist. Toggling this on will place preset checkpoints across the game that act as save states, meaning when you die, you won't lose a life at all and return to where you left off with full health. This makes Mega Man 01 a lot more manageable to play, and since your deaths don't count against your score, it also makes achieving A ranks more of a breeze, so even the casual player has a solid chance at obtaining those EX skills. Not exactly the most ideal fix to my issues, but it certainly is a welcome feature that has further increased my enjoyment of the Zero series. Be careful though, because it's not perfect. Let's say you go out and grind up your weapon levels for 30 minutes, because that's the thing you have to do in 0, 1, and 2. As much as I like RPGs, I don't think these elements have any place in side-scrolling Mega Man, and I'm thankful they did away with this mechanic with 03 and on. Anyway, since save assist is essentially a save state, be careful not to die before you touch another checkpoint, or you will lose all of your progress and have to do the grinding all over again. This also includes if you pick up a secret item and then die. You would be set back to where you were without the item in hand. Yeah, it sucks, hence my warning. Overall, the Zero series is still a must-play series despite its flaws, and Save Assist really did help me to come to appreciate these titles a lot more than before, so it definitely did its job. Still, for my time and money, I actually find myself going back to the Mega Man ZX series more often. The ZX series on the Nintendo DS takes place another 200 years after the Zero series, and this time humans and Reploids have finally achieved peace, even to the point that the lines between the two races have begun to blur. Did you know that the black tides on a lot of the human characters are intended to be synthetic skin? You're welcome for the nightmares. ZX follows the story of a young boy or girl whose lives change forever when they come into contact with biometals that house the power of Mega Man heroes from the past, allowing them to Mega Merge and become a Mega Man, taking on the form and abilities of that hero in true Sentai fashion. That's right, there's more than one Mega Man now. Our heroes will have to face other Mega Man in the game of destiny to acquire their powers and ultimately save the world from destruction. A simpler plot than the Zero series, but it gets the job done. Gameplay-wise, the ZX series feels like an experimental one as they try to incorporate Metroidvania elements into the Mega Man formula, but not without its problems. ZX1 has a full open world to explore and side quests to take on, but you're going to be hard pressed to find your way to where the missions are with its atrocious map system that doesn't even tell you how areas connect until you walk into a new one for the first time. Even then, the map is extremely bare bones, leaving you in the dark. Perhaps because of those failures, the sequel ZX Admin took a step back and made the map much more linear in progression. It's up to preference which style you prefer. What I do like about the ZX series, however, is that it brings back the good old Mega Man elements, like the traditional power-up progression, allowing free experimentation with new transformations. ZX Advent even went a step further in a cool way by letting you play as the bosses themselves. Although not every boss transformation is created equal, many forms only situationally useful at best. And of course, the traditional life ups are back along with the returning sub-tanks, so you can explore areas and do quests to find upgrades with no drawbacks. Even if a couple of those sub-tanks are some of the most annoying and convoluted to get in the entire franchise. I am not kidding. As long as you can deal with the flawed map and long expository cutscenes, the ZX series is a ton of fun to play with similarly tight and responsive controls, cool bosses, and even cooler transformations to master. Model X is the best, by the way. Out of the two, ZX1 is my favorite due to its more solid level design and balance of transformations. I still like ZX Advent, but I did have a more frustrating time of it playing it again with this collection. And it's not even the voice acting, I think it's alright. And that's saying a lot considering Gray is voiced by X7X. No, it's actually the level design that gets me here. I was looking forward to playing the floating run stage again after its appearance in Rockman X DiVE. Until I remembered the original is not fun to play, with these invincible enemies that lock your movement abilities if you even so much as scroll them on screen. Then there's the over-reliance on gimmicks and death traps, like the maze that is the scrapyard area, or trying to safely navigate these tight gaps in the waterfall ruins. I still like the game, especially since it's basically the best representation of Axel's gameplay yet, but ZX Advent's quality of level design definitely took a dip from ZX1. Even so, play them if you want to see what a Mega Man Metroidvania looks like, or you want something a little more traditional compared to Zero. I fully recommend them, and their soundtracks as Ancient Greats delivers bangers once again. By the way, the Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection is the best way to experience the ZX series by far, thanks to both the cutscene movies and voice acting being upgraded from their compressed DS versions to fully uncompressed versions that look stunning and sound miles better. It certainly makes the voice acting more tolerable, and in some cases, the uncompressed clips sound almost like a new game. Furthermore, ZX1 had special content for its post-game area that was locked behind using original 03 and 4 Game Boy Advance cards, with the DS's Game Boy Advance slot in order to access it. Thankfully, with this collection, you can select either 03 or 4's cards before launching the game to access their content. Super cool. That's not the only upgrade afforded to the collection by this being a source port, because even the gameplay feels buttery smooth with virtually no input lag at all in all 6 games, which is great news coming off of the previous collection. Even the touchscreen is surprisingly usable in the ZX games. You just move the cursor of the right stick and either click the stick in or press the right trigger to make a selection. Sadly, there are no touch controls on the Switch version, but even with the stick, I am able to navigate the menu and swap forms on the fly just fine. The only control related gripes I have is, even after all of this time, you still cannot map any buttons like the dash to the trigger buttons, which would have been preferable to me. It's the same issue in the SNES trilogy on the X Legacy collection, due to the lack of triggers on the original controllers and systems. It's a big downer that they haven't patched in the trigger support to this day. Also, if you are playing the Zero games, you still will want to switch your jump and fire buttons to the more comfortable B and Y buttons respectively before you do anything. An extra step, but at least the option is there, unlike with the triggers. Presentation wise, there's also that horrible smoothing filter to contend with that makes the graphics look quite ugly. I just keep those filters off. Unfortunately, that won't fix the cutscene images in all the games, as they will still keep that smoothing filter look no matter what you do, which is a huge shame. They should also address this in a patch and give us a choice in the matter. If they did that, I would easily call this a perfect port, but since they haven't, I cannot at this point. Otherwise, with the filters off, all the games here look as good as they are going to get blowing up handheld games on a big screen. They do look extra crisp on the Nintendo Switch's handheld screen, however. If you are so inclined, you could even change the screen size, and in the case of the ZX games, the layout too. Though I find the default layout is just fine. Performance wise, every game here runs at a full 60 frames per second with no noticeable slowdown in my playtesting, even with several enemies on the screen. A noticeable upgrade from the GBA originals. In fact, all the versions of the Zero games here are based on the DS Zero collection from 2010. You can even play the Japanese versions by toggling in the main menu, which retain all their original Japanese songs, audio, and even the blood splatter in the Zero games, to much of the delight of hardcore fans. Did you know that the Japanese version of ZX1 has fully voiced cutscenes? We didn't get that in English. Sadly, you're still gonna have to play a Japanese text, which is where those PC mods I mentioned come in to address those issues. Anyway, virtually every Zero game here is identical to the 2010 DS collection, like the higher quality audio. Frisia is still compressed though, the changes to the script to censor words like kill, which I don't necessarily mind, but some people might. Even the bugs and glitches we found here were ones already present in the DS collection. Maha's 01 boss area still has that odd static on the top, 03's Omega still has sprite flickering issues, even the glitch in 03's Foxstar stage where the steel beams can randomly disappear and spawn in the wrong area still exists. Additionally, we found El Piso and Harpuya in 02 still having their sprites look blown up when they're not supposed to in certain cutscenes. As for the ZX series, I only encountered a glitch in ZX1 towards the beginning of the game, where the Guardian members did not appear after starting the hide and seek quest. I had to reset the game to fix that, then all was fine. Those aside, on the whole, these are amazing playing and sounding representations of the Zero and ZX series, and there are little to no drawbacks with choosing these versions over other ones. In fact, again, I think these are the best yet. Finally, let's discuss the bonus content. The achievements make a return in the form of ZZ cards. There are 37 ZZ cards in total that are unlocked by completing certain criteria across the 6 games. 100%ing this game is actually fairly simple and shouldn't give the veteran player too much trouble. especially since you can cheese a few of these with casual scenario mode. Most importantly, earning specific ZZ cards will unlock the up to 100 bonus cards for Mega Man 03. The bonus cards can be accessed from the art gallery, and you can toggle different effects for 03 from cosmetic changes such as different title screens, real bullets for your buster, Mega Man Battle Network posters, graffiti, and other funny changes in the resistance base, to other helpful benefits, just like the e-reader cards from back then. Sadly, the only thing missing is the Mega Man Battle Network 4 Link content that changed the enemies in the cyberworld to Battle Network series viruses. That would have been an awesome bonus card to unlock. That's okay though, because we do have the full artwork for the zero-related Battle Network chips and cards displayed in the returning art gallery. It's seriously really awesome to have this here along with the other bonus art, like this sweet one featuring X-Series Zero for his Zero counterpart by X-Series artist Keisuke Mizuno. Other than that, there was a lot of hype surrounding this gallery, but in the end, a lot of the Zero art is mostly stuff you could find in Udon's official complete works book. We didn't get a ZX OCW though, so while there's still a lot of art missing, it's still nice to have what is compiled here for now. One new feature is you can choose up to 3 music tracks of your liking in the music player to play in the background here as you browse the artwork. Neat! Speaking of the music player, pretty much everything you could want is here. They even got 04's Frisia and ZX Advent's Japanese song in all of their compressed glory here. Then there are all the new pieces of music created specifically for this collection, mainly for the menus in Z Chaser mode. All of these sound quite excellent to my ears, and there isn't one I didn't like. Compliments to the composers. I had more mixed feelings about the Red Plate Remixes DLC that is now free to download on all platforms in case you missed the news. As part of the DLC, you get 6 gameplay tracks, one for each game that can be listened to while playing that specific game in place of the original tune. You can toggle tracks for each of the games in the main menu. Lastly, you get 4 additional tracks that can be listened to in the music player exclusively. My favorite remixes were Trail on Powdery Snow from 04 and Theme of Zero by far. Crash, Departure, Esperanto, and Trap Phantasm are good too, but I'm not sure I necessarily prefer them over the remastered soundtrack versions by Inti Craze. Greengrass Gradation is weird, but alright. And the Cannonball remix is not that great. It definitely has nothing on the Mythos version. That said, music is a subjective thing, so which remixes were your favorite? I'll say my favorite thing about this DLC was that it showed that replacing soundtracks was totally possible in this collection. I wish they went further with that idea. Thankfully, the PC mods do exist for those of us that dream of playing of the Inti remaster soundtracks. At last, we raced to the finish line with the big new mode of this collection, Z Chaser. This mode was inspired by the Mega Man Zero speedrunners, and if you are a runner, this is the mode for you. You can race across 13 stages in total, including an unlockable one based on ZX Advent's Mega Man A minigame. That's A with a lowercase. 2 stages for each game. The modes include Single Chaser, where you face off with a preset CPU opponent made by the devs, Double Chaser, where you race against a friend locally on the same screen, but sadly no online racing here, which is a huge missed opportunity. Instead, the bulk of the competition happens in the World Record Chaser mode, where you download the ghost data of the top times and race against them head to head. It can be fun and stressful for all the right reasons, as this mode will give you that speedrunner's itch to keep you trying for the best run you can muster, muttering "one more run" to yourself all the while. Z Chaser feels more focused and scope than past extra modes, and is arguably more fun as a result. There's some neat ideas here, like bosses carrying over their health / progress if you died to them, so the run can go on. But ultimately, Z Chaser feels like a one and done thing. For the average player, you only need to complete each stage on S rank to see it all. And with only 13 stages, that won't take long. Meanwhile, Z rank is a huge jump in difficulty. This is where the dev ghosts are starting to get serious. And you can forget about ZZ rank, because the CPU runs here may as well be tool assisted, with crazy maneuvers like going off camera for a chunk of the disposal center stage, and what looks like turbo fire being used in the Mega Man A minigame. Now, I'm not saying ZZ rank is impossible to beat. One look at the leaderboards does reveal that people have indeed conquered the ZZ times. But boy, if it doesn't take the perfect run and a lot of luck to beat those times. You'll be at this for a while, especially when a few of the stages are extremely long, since there are final stages in the mix, complete with boss gauntlets. That's why I feel like if they had to keep it to such a low number of stages, the selection could have been better for sure. Still, the biggest omission from Z Chaser is definitely the aforementioned lack of online head-to-head racing. If that was a thing instead of just leaderboards, this mode could have had so much more life to it, feeding into our love of racing against our friends in the Mega Man games. And it's such a missed opportunity to have that kept local only. I like Z Chaser mode, but I was done with it pretty quick myself, and I don't see myself going back to it anytime soon. That brings us to the end of our Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy Collection review. Even though Z Chaser feels bare bones, it is still fun. The bonus content is quite good, and all the extra features and content included shows that Capcom does care about what the hardcore fans want, which is all we can really ask for. Most importantly, these are indeed the best versions of the Mega Man Zero and ZX series available yet, and that alone makes this collection well worth a purchase if you are interested in these rocktastic handheld titles. This collection is now my favorite of the Legacy collections, even more than Classic and X. And if I had to give it a score, I would give this a 9 out of 10 for sure. I hope Capcom will keep up this level of quality and produce even more impressive Legacy collections when or if they get to the Legends, Battle Network, and Star Force series. Battle Network's 20th anniversary is next year, so let's cross our fingers. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn even more about the Mega Man Zero and ZX Legacy collection, definitely check the description for more coverage on the game, including those PC mods. They're really awesome. Otherwise, stay tuned to ShadowRockZX for all things Mega Man. Until next time, Rockman!